I'm sure those of you who are active on YouTube are probably already aware of an ongoing battle between PewDiePie and T-Series. And those of you who aren't active on YouTube, well, congratulations, you have a real life. Now, before moving ahead, I wanted to ease and calm the minds of a few individuals who have had some highly insightful and motivating reactions to this whole situation. No one cares. No, really, no one cares. Most of the people, including PewDiePie, are doing it just because it's fun. Most of the people know it's all a big joke. Most. A couple months back, state elections took place in Telangana, where I live, and given this PewDiePie versus T-Series situation, I was inspired to try out a little something interesting. What do you mean it's not interesting?
No, it's not. It's pretty boring.
I find it interesting. No, you are a nerd. A YouTube parliament. Given the top 5 channels on YouTube and their subscribers across the countries with the most active YouTube users, find out which channel would form the government in a hypothetical YouTube parliament, where one subscriber is kind of one vote. Now, you would say, well, PewDiePie has the most votes, of course he would form the government. Things are not that simple. Now, if you directly want the results, you can skip ahead to this time, but I recommend you stick around for 2 reasons. Number one, the results are gonna reference a lot of concepts which, unless you have a background in voting systems and such, you're gonna be lost. And number two, I need that sweet watch time, please. Yeah. So, let's jump into the basics. Coming to PewDiePie versus T-Series, this debate over who of the two wins is reminiscent of a typical two-party system which is prevalent in the political scenario of many countries. Examples include, Democrats versus Republicans in the US, Congress versus BJP in India, and Conservative Party versus Labour Party in the UK. Now, to be fair, India is generally considered to be a multi-party system given the way its government is formed. India's government follows something called as a dual polity system, in which there is one government at the center and one government in each of the states. Because of this, smaller regional parties can also ascend to state power as opposed to just the two major ones. At the central power, however, it's generally these two who form the major competition as part of alliances. However, in India, parties not aligned with either of these alliances also gain seats in the administration. But still, only these two have ever formed government. So, why does a two-party system emerge? It seems pretty intuitive, right? There's one party which everyone likes. You're like, screw it, I'm gonna form my own party. Now, those who like you hang out with you, and those who like your opponent, they hang out with it. There's no reason to form a third party. That's pretty much it. Or is it? Let's delve deeper. Generally, a two-party system emerges as a division of the political spectrum in that country. Left-wing versus right-wing politics. So in the case of India, these two parties correspond to the left and right respectively, or that's how at least Wikipedia classifies them. I don't know. There are many other reasons, but we will focus on one which is a bit weird. It has been argued that the emergence of a two-party system is related to the type of voting system in place. Yeah, there are more than one. Called the Diverger's Law, formulated by Maurice Diverger in the 1960s, it asserts that plurality rule elections structured within single-member districts tend to produce a two-party system. Now, there are a couple of important terms here. Single-member districts are those in which out of say 3 candidates, only one can win based on the number of votes. And the way this one candidate wins is defined by plurality rule, or FPTP, first past the post. Meaning, out of those 3 candidates, the one candidate that got the most number of votes wins the election. This is called as relative majority, which is separate from absolute majority, in which to win, the candidate needs to have more number of votes than all the other votes combined. FPTP is used in a lot of countries, including elections in Canada, most elections in US and UK, and the state assembly and general elections in India. So what Diverges says is that in an election system where only one candidate can win, determined by the most number of votes, a two-party system tends to emerge. Now, Diverges law is not absolute and says that it would only delay the emergence of new parties and would accelerate the elimination of weaker ones. And surely there are counterexamples. This 2012 article goes on to assert that outside of the US, plurality voting does not produce two-party system. This chart for US about the 2006 House of Representatives elections clearly shows seats being won by either of the two major parties, with only a few being won by any other third party. This chart for India, however, about the 2004 Lok Sabha elections shows clearly that the seats aren't as clumped together in two factions as with US. There's even a whole bunch of seats which were won by parties other than Congress bloc or BJP bloc. But there are also converse examples in which two-party systems are present in spite of not having plurality voting, like Malta. However, this doesn't take away from the fact that the type of voting system in place does influence the results and by extension the general politics in that country in a non-trivial and non-obvious way. Let's see how. Okay, let's come to the main section of the discussion. The actual cream and jelly and butter, the star attraction, the clickbait, PewDiePie versus T-Series. The premise is this: the top 5 channels on YouTube will compete in each country with their number of votes being their number of subscribers in that country, and the channel which wins in that country will clinch that country's seat in the parliament. So, across the world, the channel which has most seats in the parliament forms the YouTube government, effectively rules over YouTube, hypothetically of course, and will run each of the voting systems to find the country winners to see how the resulting government varies. Sound interesting, right? Right? Let's get started. The first thing I needed was the info on subscriber distribution across countries, and I tried to get it. Hi, yo, YouTube. I needed the channel subscriber data. Can I have it? Top 5 channels. You know channels like PewDiePie, T-Series, and what do you mean? Who's PewDiePie? Just look. Do you have the data or not? Can I have it? What do you mean? The channels have the data. Look, I can't call up PewDiePie now, right? Hi, Felix. Yeah, I needed your channel subscriber information, country-wise. Am I subscribed to you? Look, I'm under duress. I really can't say that out loud. Hi, is this T-Series office speaking? Yeah, I needed your YouTube subscriber information. YouTube, you know? Yeah, that Google video thing, yeah, right. Am I subscribed to you? Okay, who do you have next?
Canal Conzilla, 5-Minute Crafts, and Justin Bieber?
Did you say 5-Minute Crafts and Justin Bieber?
Yeah.
Turns out this information is only visible to the channel owners and not publicly visible. We only have the total number of subscribers, and I came across this data on YouTube users across countries. However, the subscribers are scattered across all countries, and this data is only for the top 15 countries, and that too from way back in 2016. I needed some math. I said math. Warning: the following section contains scenes of approximation, a term which here means probably right and most probably wrong. So after a bit of math, I managed to scale down the world YouTube population according to the sub counts, but there were more things to do. Now I had to estimate exactly how many from each country had subbed to these channels. In reality, the exact number depends on things like the type of content, the language of the channel, and its home country. But since this is not reality, I decided to go simple and focus on just one factor: language. This is because type of content is not easily quantifiable, whether it's music, comedy, or original, and home country was introducing a lot of magic numbers into the algorithm. So just language it is. Doing this effectively puts PewDiePie, 5-Minute Crafts and Justin Bieber into a single language bucket of English, with T-Series and Canal Conzilla in their own separate buckets. Even though T-Series has content from multiple languages, again for simplicity, I decided to focus on just one language, Hindi. This bucketing means I can now split each country into 3 pieces corresponding to the 3 languages, and using the approximate proportion of language speakers in that country, I can map that country's YouTube user base into 3 language buckets of their own. Mind you, these country language buckets aren't yet mapped to the channel language buckets, which is precisely what we'll use the voting systems for. For every voting system, I'll go over a bit how it works before going to the results, and I'm also gonna drag in this lovely interactive explanation by game developer Nikki Case. So let's begin. Let's start with the voting system everyone knows and loves, plurality or FPTP. Most votes equals win. Simple, right? Can this cause any problems? Yeah. Say the coordinates of these candidates denote their political ideology or political position. So the axis could be, DC to Marvel and gift to GIF, whatever, doesn't matter. Don't come at me in the comments. As you can see, triangle wins, which means most of the voters like triangle's position. Say hexagon enters the game, seeing that people like triangle's position, it takes a political position closer to what triangle has, aiming to win the election. The result? Square, who was losing earlier, won because of entry of a third candidate. It's obvious to see why. The popular vote was split between 2 similar candidates, thus leading the non-popular candidate to win the whole election. This is called as the spoiler effect, and it has actually affected real elections. Also, fixating just on the highest number of votes can lead to a party clinching the most number of votes but still lose the overall elections. How? Consider a situation where 2 parties compete in 3 states with 10 voters each. Party A wins in 2 states by grabbing 6 votes in each, and Party B wins in 3rd state by getting 9 votes. Overall, B got more votes across the 3 states than A, but the way the Houses of Parliament work, A clinched more seats in the House than B, thus effectively being in majority and forming the government. A therefore won in spite of having lower overall votes than B. The reason for this is simple. In any state, the minimum votes a party needs is 6 from total votes of 10. A wins by having the minimum 6 in both X and Y, but B wins in Z by having a resounding 9, much more than the minimum, which means it got 3 extra votes it didn't really need. If we add these 3 votes back to A, we get the more consistent vote totals, with A's votes now being higher than B's. These 3 extra votes that B got are what we call as wasted votes, and they bring in a whole ball of interesting and annoying headaches. So the results for this? It's no surprise that PewDiePie wins here, since he has the most subscribers or the most votes. We can also kind of see the spoiler effect working in the case of PewDiePie, Justin Bieber and 5-Minute Crafts, as the English votes are split across these 3 English channels. Okay, so what next? Well, there's this thing called rank voting, where instead of pressing a button on your voting machine, you can punch in numeric ranks for all the candidates according to your preference. And in my algo, people give higher ranks to channels of their own language and lower ranks to the other channels. So English population of any country will give higher rankings to the English channels and lower to the others, and so for other languages. There are a bunch of ways to decide the winner in this. First is border count, simply add up the ranks and the lowest sum wins. Let's see who wins here. Okay. Next is instant runoff voting. You see how many rank 1s each candidate has got, and if any candidate has got more than 50%, declare them the winner. If not, remove the candidate with the lowest number of 1 ranks, readjust ranks for the rest of the candidates accordingly, and check again for 50% and so on. So, who wins in this? Okay. Third one is a bit complex one called the Condorcet method, in which every pair of candidates are pitted against one another for an ultimate, no holds barred, violent battle to the death. Well, not really. Their ranks are compared against one another. If one candidate beats all others in one-on-one matches, then they win. And surely PewDiePie won't win one-on-one matches with all of the channels, all of the big channels, So This was ranked voting, in which you rank candidates in a serial ranking according to your preference. But there are more. Approval voting. Vote for as many candidates as you want. These are your approvals. You are okay with any of these candidates winning. So the candidate who gets the most approval wins. Okay. Last one is score voting, where you get to express exactly how much you approve of the candidate on a range of something to something. The candidate with the highest average score wins. So I think you cannot escape the truth. You cannot escape the facts and logic. It appears PewDiePie is the king of YouTube. No matter how you calculate that, no matter how you see that, no matter how different your voting system is, how fantastically, mathematically, I guess PewDiePie would always win and rule over YouTube. So there you have it, YouTube Parliament. This tangled mess of code is available at the GitHub link for you guys to shred to pieces. I so hope not. I did this because I wanted to do something fun. Just like the whole battle thing is just pure fun. It doesn't deserve the amount of distress, agony and hate it is getting. After I finished this project, a few events happened. They were actually agonizing, extremely distressing and painful. Those of us who are safe in our homes cannot imagine what these families are going through. They deserve our concerns, our prayers and hopes. This PewDiePie versus T-Series thing, this is nothing as compared to the actual battles we are fighting. This is nowhere close to that. So let's keep this as it is. A small bubble of fun, a playful banter, just something to have fun with in these very difficult times. Let's just keep this fun, nothing else. There's enough hate and harm in this world, right? Let's keep this free of hate and harm, hateless and harmless. Cool? Cool.